Howdy, folks, and welcome to Water by the Quarter. My name's Jim Nash. I'm your Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner, and this show is about the most important resource we have, fresh water. Today, we have a very special guest. Erin Quetell is the Oakland County's first ever Environmental Sustainability Officer. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's good to be here. This is one of those things that I'm really, really proud of the government, of Oakland County government for, is really taking a forward look at this, and it's just wonderful. So I got to say, I've known you for quite a while. I knew you before you worked for Ferndale and before you worked for the county, back when you were with OHM.
Yeah. We
worked on green infrastructure, which is another one of the things I talk a lot about. So it's great to have you, and in that time you worked as sustainability for Ferndale, and then you've come now to the county, and I think again this is one of those great places that we can really do a lot. And let me start out here. I've talked about sustainability a lot, but I'd like to get directly from you. What is your definition, and how do you guys define it for the county?
Sure, that's a great question. So sustainability, you often hear it as people, planet, profit, or social, environmental, economic, and really what we look at is the intersection of all of those. So how are we making sure we are protecting the environment, serving our people, and making sure we're doing it in a fiscally responsible manner? So all those things that come together in this system are what we're looking at for sustainability. So ensuring that we have clean water, clean air, good paying jobs, those types of things, healthy business communities, etc.
Social equity, so we were making sure that no one's left behind, that we're paying attention to also the long-term good of our environment, because we can't survive without a really well established and healthy environment.
Exactly.
And okay, so going into this, when you started, now it's been 2 years?
Not quite. Year and a half.
Year and a half. So in that year and a half, we've started out with several programs just right out of the gate. What have those been around? Defining what we want to do and then looking at our conditions?
Exactly. So we have a goal of net zero by 2050 and an interim goal to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2035. And so knowing that we have those climate goals, one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that we also understand the different things, how we're operating as a county. So looking at our buildings, looking at our transportation and our fleet, really taking a look at that, making a plan, and then understanding where there are opportunities for improvement at the county. Some of the things that we've looked at too, not only just how our buildings are operating, but how are people moving around campus, making sure that paths are accessible. We have a lot of work to do, and it's going to take all of us together. And so making sure we have that baseline review, making sure we have the data to back it up. We also did a greenhouse gas inventory for our campus operations. And so we used a baseline year 2018, looked at our different emissions. Not surprisingly, our fleet and our buildings are the two greatest emitters. And so now we have the responsibility to see how we can improve upon them. What do we do for maybe electrification or alternative fuels for our fleet? How do we make sure our buildings are operating more efficiently and are good places to work that serve our people and have healthy environments for the people that work for us?
Those are very good things. So when you're working on this, we're working internally among the agencies of county government. We've been working with you directly, and it has parks and a bunch of other things. I'm on the Parks Commission, and we've really taken a deep look at sustainability. What do you see as the most impact of our departments? They all have their own specific things they do. What do you think going forward? What are our biggest strengths in terms of how we're approaching this?
Something that I'm really proud of from our facilities team specifically is looking at our electricity and where we get our electricity from. At Oakland County, specific to our operations, we actually have a third-party purchasing agreement where we don't necessarily have to go through DTE Energy. Because of that third-party agreement, we were able to solidify 75% of our electricity coming from solar starting in 2026, which gets us 40% of the reduction from greenhouse gas emissions by 2026. So you have that 10% left that we can get between 2026 and 2035. So I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the work that the facilities team helped with that. I know that you and I have talked about it with the George W. Kuhn Drainage District, making sure we're offering different solutions for future planning efforts and development. And I think that I'm really proud of that work, and I'm really proud of everything that even the communities in the drainage district about coming together and thinking differently about sustainability, thinking about how they can ingrain it more into their budget cycles, what they can think about for different projects. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have seen as much green infrastructure deployed. And so I'm really proud of that. And I'm looking forward to continuing that work. And then, with parks, I'd say that I'm really proud of just the equity focus that they've been taking, really thinking about the people and how we're serving the people, or maybe not serving the people very well and where we can improve upon that.
Right.
And that's all part of it. It's just making sure that we have really good places for people to recreate and live and experience nature. And I'm proud of all the work that the Parks has done over the last couple years.
No, it certainly is. It's been a significant change of focus directly onto those issues. What other kind of equity things are you working with? What are the most important things you're looking at for equity?
One of the things that was really important to look at specifically for the sustainability plan I had mentioned earlier was what's called a land acknowledgement. And so acknowledging that this was not westernized land that we're sitting on today. And so really acknowledging the first people and who had this property and lands before, us white folks came in and took it from them. And that's the unfortunate reality, but I think it's also really important to acknowledge that. And so it was really important and really intentional with working with our diversity, equity, inclusion officer and community members to write that acknowledgement and land acknowledgement. And that's one of the first things you see when you open up the new plan.
No, it's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And part of what we wanted to do from the beginning was not just our own operations and facilities, but the whole, how can we help the entire county, residents, businesses, how can we do that? And have you been working on that kind of thing? And what do you think the chances of really having that collaboration work?
One of the things that I've been working on more specifically is more in the electrification and electric vehicle space, but I'm really looking forward to the more external work. The first year and a half has really been focused internally. What can we do for our operations? How can we make sure we're being more efficient? And now it's come to the point where okay, now we can engage our 62 cities, villages, and townships. Now we can engage with other organizations, see what's the great work that's already being done, ways that we can partner. And, something I always say is that the environment doesn't understand jurisdictional boundaries.
No, it certainly doesn't.
It doesn't know, where Royal Oak starts and, and whatever. So I think it's really important to understand that. And by kind of changing that frame and thinking more regionally, taking that back and like I said, sustainability is a system, so all these different things interacting with one another. So although there hasn't been much work to date, it's just getting started, and I'm really excited about that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And my office does a lot. We work in every community one way or another, and we do a lot of work with Royal Oak, and Royal Oak has been a leader in this kind of thing, both in developing green infrastructure, and they did an analysis, a CO2 analysis of their systems and how much they produce from, again, it's mostly buildings, a lot of it is, and they're in a smaller space than the county, so their transportation within the city isn't as much, and I think it's much more facilities. But do you see other communities doing those kind of things now, and have you worked with them at all? Or
Definitely, when I was with the city of Ferndale, we did that as well. Something that I really liked is that the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, SEMCOG, they took it upon themselves to do an entire regional greenhouse gas inventory. So the results of that are coming out hopefully sometime soon, and they've been working on it for the last year. And I was really proud about that because historically, SEMCOG has done a lot of planning in water or transportation, but never quite at that greenhouse gas inventory level. And so I'm looking forward to seeing some of the results of that. And with that, all of the communities within the SEMCOG region are going to receive that data. So it takes a little bit of the burden off of those communities that maybe couldn't afford to go through that process or have that planning. Maybe they didn't have the technical expertise on staff. And now communities are going to be able to use that data for their future planning efforts.
No, that's right. That's right. So I mean, we got a grant from SEMCOG back in 2018, and actually you worked on that from OHM with us for a little while on that. I remember because SEMCOG helped us work the 14 communities in the 12-town drain, figure that one out, that are really looking at how they can implement green infrastructure by changing their ordinances and their permitting processes. And that's become much more common in that area. And is this something you can see going across the county?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because again, there's a payback on this stuff, and one of those things that's often left out when we're talking about this, we're not just we are helping the environment by getting off fossil fuels, but the point of renewable energy is you're not paying for fuel. Once you built the thing that collects it, the fuel's free, and it's either wind or sun or even water. But there's no buying of the oil or gas or coal, and once you've built that, it just produces from nothing. I mean, I have solar panels at my house, and I got them just about 7 years ago, and by my calculations, they're paid off now because just not having to pay an electric bill. And all of these things have paybacks. So this is one of those things that you stress when you talk to communities?
Sure, absolutely. Not only renewable energy, but also simply just weatherizing your home, thinking about your insulation, making sure the seals around your windows and your doors are appropriate for, whatever needs to happen with your home, because you can make your home as efficient as possible, but if it's not weatherized appropriately or if it has any sort of structural concerns, that's going to be useless. And so one of the things is education in that way too. Proper maintenance, thinking about renewables, thinking about, what are the little things that you can do as a resident that, multiplied together can create this big change for us.
No, I understand completely, and that's one of those things we work a lot with folks, and I think we've talked to you about, we have a new program, rebates for people to put in green infrastructure in the George W. Coon, the bottom corner of this county, if they build a green infrastructure on their property to withhold stormwater from the system, then they get, we can actually rebate some of that cost. I think it's up to $2,000. So this allows them to do that, and I've built a couple of rain gardens on my property. I'm in Farmington Hills, and it really helps. It allows that water to infiltrate rather than immediately go into the drains. And whenever you're having a big storm, when it goes into those drains, the costs are a lot to move it, to treat it, all those things we do. So the more we can to keep that water on the surface that we can infiltrate in the ground, the ratepayers pay less in the long run, and plus we have less pollution going into the water. So all those things have a payback, and we just got to make sure people recognize that, because it's good to do, and we need to help the environment, but we got to make sure people, they're not sacrificing for this. In the long run, they'll benefit from it.
Well, and not only that, it's just cost avoidance. So when a catastrophe happens, you have property loss, you have property damage, you have valuables that are sometimes gone forever, and that don't have a cost associated with them because they're just that important. And I don't think people even talk about that very often. What is that social cost of just that property damage? What is the infrastructure cost for everything that kind of happens with that? It just starts to snowball. Versus only thinking about, I need to put in this rain garden that's going to have this economic burden, but it's only for that short period of time. And like you said, having the payback around it.
No, for sure. And Oakland County has more lakes than any other county in the state, so our lake quality has a huge impact on our economy, and a lot of this does. I mean, do you talk about the economy and the benefits to it from what we're doing?
Yes, I get really excited about talking about the economy. I'm not an economist, but I think that there's so much potential, and we're just there. More and more businesses are having financial requirements for their environmental, social governance goals, ESG goals, their reporting needs, and I want to tap into that. And I think that what's cool about environmental sustainability is that, especially when thinking about like the economic side of it, is that electric vehicles are a way that people kind of understand and see sustainability in practice. And so what are those other things that businesses are doing? There are different, benefit corporations or B corporations on insignia on different products that you can buy now, and just educating in that way and thinking about the products you're procuring and using and what we're doing at the county and our procurement things. There's just so much opportunity, and little by little, I'm getting across to certain folks to talk about that.
Oh, sure.
But it's those pieces, I think, more that we're starting to kind of build some momentum here.
So, when I talk to a lot of businesses, they get that fiscal responsibility means that they need to do the investments they need to do to have that long-term return on things. And sustainability strikes me as something that a lot of businesses are much more involved with than they were just 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see, so a lot of that has been education towards businesses. On the individual level, what can people do, and how can we help them, get that information?
I think first and foremost, it's just, from the consumer side, being really critical about your practices and what you're buying or your spending habits or things like that. And, thinking about different ways that you can maybe have your own personal investments in something that's maybe more sustainable, whether that be something small as just, buying organic produce or buying local produce, or something big, if you have retirement savings, investing in renewables or things like that. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of ways that you can engage with it at a consumer level. And then certainly businesses, a lot of financial institutions are requiring this type of reporting. So whether they like it or not, they're going to have to, at least report on what they're doing. And then it does have a bottom line benefit, thinking about making your business more efficient, just literally your building footprint or your supply chain. There's so many different things that people can kind of think about in how to become more sustainable. Something, like I said, as small as your produce to as big as your entire supply chain for your business.
Sure. So, I can say that a long time ago, I mean, I've been involved with climate for a very long time, but 10, 15 years ago, the first industry that got involved with recognizing climate change was the insurance industry, because they were doing payouts. And so how do you see that as something recognized now that really wasn't very long ago? Is that having a positive impact on how people see it, and do they actually go out and talk to individuals, or is it just more within their own organizations that recognize that there's an issue with climate change, and especially around resiliency, building your systems so they can withstand heavy storms and not be damaged?
I think that more and more people are realizing the severity of the climate crisis. Here specifically in Michigan, and more locally, is all the flooding that we've experienced. And that's never happened before to this extent.
No, for
And
sure.
then you look at the news and you see, wildfires and, more intense storms happening along our coast. And I think that more and more people, are realizing, like, oh, wow, like, this is really happening. And, a good amount of healthy fear, I'd say, to actually do something and be really thoughtful on, who they're voting for and where they're putting their money and what their investments are. And as far as insurance goes, safeguarding their homes and their property.
No,
I
for
think
sure.
that more and more people are realizing the importance of it. And hopefully because of that, you can kind of see some of it with the federal funding. You can kind of see some of it, especially with the My Healthy Climate Plan that the state of Michigan last year they put about. But there's a lot happening in the policy space because of that.
Sure. And, flooding and extreme weather is the biggest impact that we've received, and they're looking forward for a long time. That really the most important thing. We're not getting those massive, 20-day, 100 days of over 100-degree kind of things like Arizona. But, every region has their own issues, and ours is going to be flooding and extreme weather. We are, more and more coming to grips with that. And, going forward, this is one of those things we're going to have to be doing at the county here, because, again, part of the problem with these flooding is the pollution that ends up in our lakes, rivers, and streams.
Sure.
And that's something that my office is very aware of, and that we're really working towards. Again, both in resiliency, building our systems more stronger and able to withstand this, and getting off the carbon that we use. With the facility in Pontiac, the wastewater treatment plant there, we now have we're running more and more of the plant off of the solids that we treat by creating methane. So this is, again, one of those things we can in 10 years, I don't think any wastewater treatment plant in the country won't be doing this. I mean, they'll all be doing this because this is stuff that we have to get rid of anyway, and it's expensive to get rid of. And if we can use it instead to make energy that's airtight, and it's not fossil fuels that are adding to the atmosphere. So these are the kind of things that we can do, and your office is doing more and more of that. And that's the kind of thing we can help local governments do. Is that something that you've, again, part of that process of helping the rest of the county, not just our own government?
I think it's, what is Oakland County really good at? Providing resources, making connections, collaborating, taking maybe some global, statewide ideas and bringing it down to the local level. And that's exactly what we want to do with sustainability as well. How can we partner regionally to think about the different things that we need to do, whether it's responding to the increased storms or, what it looks like for future electrification, providing resources, bringing people together, and making it really real and understandable,
Experience is the best teacher.
Exactly.
It really is. Once you've had that flood, you're going to do everything you can not to have that flood happen again. So,
exactly.
No,
unfortunately, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, we're running out of time here.
Yeah.
So I want to give you the option. Anything we haven't talked about that you really like to bring up? Or
I would say that if anyone is really passionate about sustainability and would love to connect with me, I'd be happy to do so. We have our new website at Oakland County, and so there's a sustainability portion of the website. You can email me, contact me, and I'd be happy to speak with anyone, engage with anyone.
Well, that's terrific because we need people involved. And last thing, I deal with a lot of high school, college, and young professionals that are just guided by this. They're focused on climate change, on doing the things they need to do, and it just gives me a lot of hope because my generation has left a lot of problems, and their generation is going to fix it. And you're part of that generation.
Yes,
I'm an older guy, so I know that you're going to do that, and I really appreciate the work you're doing and being able to work with you. It's been wonderful, and I look forward to a long time doing it.
Same. Thank you very much.
It's good to have you. And I guess that's it for this show today. And I really appreciate as my visitors, as everybody, as always. And we're here to teach. And anytime I can help you, please reach out to my office. We're here to help. So thank you so much.